there, and welcome back to Movie Fridays. I finally feel glad I actually got to find at least another decently good movie that is actually kinda interesting. The only reason I know about it is because, while I was at Everfree Northwest this year, and right as I was just killing time until the new episode came on, I was flipping through the hotel channels, and obviously since all these hotels must have HBO in their lineup, I looked at HBO for a bit and they were playing this movie, The Secret of the Magic Gourd. And I took a look at it, and I gotta be honest, this is the most interesting movie I've ever come across in my whole life. I never really thought about whether or not it's really worth it to review this movie, especially seeing as how it's not that known, and even just, you should just try and see how, unknown this movie is for you. You want to know how unknown it is? Well, there you go. It is not that known because there's nothing on the Wikipedia page. No plot, no synopsis, nothing. Not even reviews for that matter. That is how empty the Wikipedia is. It's really sad. And especially seeing as how this is one of the movies that not many people talk about. But also, to another fact, is that while the movie was first released in 2007 to China, apparently it took 2 years until Disney got the rights and distributed it over here in the US. But the question is, what is the story, since I've been holding it off for a while? Well, a young boy who is just a procrastinator, a bored person, and he's just thinking way over his league. He's a klutz. He's a person who just doesn't pass in tests and everything. He one day goes out to try and catch some fish to try and prove his peers wrong. As he's fishing and dreaming about how he can be better, a magical gourd winds up appearing out of the ground and essentially follows him and grants him any wish he can think of off the top of his mind. Now, the plot seems very simple. There are elements I feel like are similar to other movies. The cliche where the person's a failure begins to rise, but then something happens where he fails, and then he actually starts to get better and better. That is a plot I've seen, way beforehand in other shows and movies and everything that I can't name directly off the top of my head because other things are flying through, like the recent Rampage trailer that just landed here on YouTube. There are a couple of funny yet subtle moments in the film, but if there's one thing I do have to say is that the acting, for the most part, is decent. I'm not used to watching a lot of these foreign films, especially when they're done in their original native language. I had to get used to that when watching a couple of animes like Bleach and a couple of other shows that aren't dubbed at all. And at the time I first watched watching Magic Gourd, is that the original voices and the casting, they do a good job at it. It's just so weird to hear one different language, especially from another country. I'm gonna have to try and see if I could get used to this from other products or Something like that. But how does the story feel? Or at least the animation-wise? Well, for the most part, I kind of see the animation feeling a little bit like Kung Fu Hustle, which, if you don't know what that movie is, it basically came out like around 3 years before this movie. And essentially, it's like this Kung Fu movie, except it has the Kung Fu elements, except it's got like this toony CGI to it, which makes the movie more funnier and just relatable and altogether. Magic Gourd is kind of like that, except it's basically a boy who's try to be a better man out of himself. The Gourd is funny. I like it. It's a good story and everything. I just don't have the right words to express how I feel about the movie. I mean, for the most part, I actually see this as a well put together film. And I pretty much find myself just enjoying the story for what it is. I barely get to see a lot of foreign movies for the most part. I mean, there's the animated movies, sure, there's like Ernest and Celestine and Asterix, just to name off the top of my head. But practically I'm more used to like foreign animated movies than I am of live action films, because they're a different medium to themselves. I mean, if I could see something like the Japanese Death Note anime, like TV dramas or whatever, I mean, for Pete's sake, I'm trying to get started on Kamen Rider right here. But, Japanese aside, what do I think about the movie? For the most part, it's good. I like the style of the animation. I kind of like the frog sidekick that the Gourd has. And for the most part, I do like just how the story's told. It's just, I don't know how to express it. And I'm sorry this is just weirdly put together. I've had a lot going on, especially seeing us on next week's Thanksgiving, and I have to go food shopping sometime this weekend and get all the foods and whatnot ready and set to have the festivity next week. But I guess with that in mind, to get the quick opinion out of the way, if one thing I have to say about this movie, I do have to say that the Secret of Magic Gourd is good. Just simply good. And speaking of Kung Fu Hustle, I may need to watch that one again. It's been a long time since I last saw that film. But also to another factoid is that while the movie was dubbed, HBO apparently seemed to have the original Japanese, the original Chinese version on there. It's weird, seeing as how, like, in the past they didn't do that. They just put in the original, they put in the English dub, and they didn't, like, mess around with it or anything. Well, apparently now premium channels are just like, oh, let's put these in their original native language. Which meant Kung Fu Hustle had to be released that way on Stars, and that was actually kind of disappointing. But I like the dub because it makes it more funny. But anywho, Secret of the Magic Gourd. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? And tell me what your overall thoughts are on certain movies that you barely get to see often, but yet you're interested in them. I know that question's confusing, but that's just what came to the top of my mind. Whatever your thoughts are, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you're seeing here and you want to see more, just look at these parts if you want to see more. And as always, I'm the Ferb Guy, and I'll see you guys for the next movie. And, well, this is the weekend of a certain film's 29th anniversary. I I better go and grab my copy of the movie while I'm at it.